Hi, people. I'm Jane. I'm 18 years old and I've just recently lost my granny. And right now I'm boiling from anger and a feeling of unfairness because my granny bequeathed all of her property to my twin sister while she didn't even bother to take her grandmother on her last journey, unlike me. My twin sister Lily and I have practically nothing in common. She always said that she was trying to enjoy her life to the fullest, while I was a normal girl, even boring maybe. It's not that we often fought with each other, but sometimes we just couldn't get along. But our parents never got involved in anything. Sometimes when I tried to complain about Lily, Mom would even reprimand me for being a tattletale. I guess that's why I had this strong feeling that our parents loved Lily a little bit more than me. By the beginning of high school, I got so irritated with people saying how similar we were that even on social networks I tried not to upload our common photos. By the way, Lily also perceived our similarity without much enthusiasm, so to speak. So the older we got, the more she tried to stand out with her behavior. And by the time I was in my first romantic relationship, even though it was mostly online, Lily was already in full swing in a relationship with a high school student. By the way, speaking of that very boyfriend of mine, he kind of has a direct bearing on what happened next in this story. We met each other under pretty unusual circumstances. He dialed the wrong number on his cell phone and accidentally called me. He said that he fell in love with my voice. And at that time, we talked for more than a few minutes. The next day, he called me again. I don't know why I did this. Everything probably seemed so romantic and magical for 16-year-old me, and I agreed to tell him how to find me on social networks, and our relationship sort of migrated into an online one. I was so pleased that this guy, Brett, kept complimenting me and kept saying that I was so unique and special that I decided to not even mention that I had a twin. Our romance was developing really slowly. We chatted for almost 2 months without seeing each other when Lily kind of guessed about our relationship and began saying that he might be a freak or something if he didn't want to see me in person. Her words sort of got stuck in my head, and at some point I decided to take the initiative to set a date. Brett turned out to be just perfect, and it seemed to me that he liked me too. But then, after a couple days, he suddenly called and made a scene, starting to accuse me of cheating. It took me a while to understand what was wrong. All of a sudden, he saw Lily with her boyfriend kissing and hugging in a park, and since he didn't know that my sister was my twin, he was sure that it was me. And when I tried to explain to him the truth, he said that I could have come up with a better lie and simply blocked my number. I got so angry with my sister. I knew that it was partially my fault because I didn't tell Brett about her from the very beginning, but I really liked him, and it was so insulting that she practically had anything she wanted while I had to struggle trying to prove my individuality. I rushed into her room in a rage. She was sitting on her bed in complete bewilderment, and I demanded that she contact Brett from her own account. I don't know. I felt the need to explain everything to Brett. I was sure that Lily had to do this for me. Well, she refused. We had a really big fight that day. Our parents couldn't understand what was going on, but I didn't feel sorry for accusing Lily of my problems, and she refused to walk in my shoes. Anyway, we completely ignored each other for a few weeks, to the point that we wouldn't even talk to each other. After graduation from high school, Lily and I agreed that it would be better for us to study at different colleges. Thank God our parents didn't mind. So I found new friends, and finally, nobody there mixed me up with my sister, which was definitely a new and pleasant experience. Lily also seemed to enjoy her freedom, although in her own way. She didn't study well, but she got acquainted with a photographer who was shooting her for things like calendars or whatever. Sometimes she called me and suggested that I join her in those shootings, but it was totally not my thing. Everything was great, but right before summer break, my mom called me to say that our granny's health had gotten worse and that she was about to die soon. So everybody should come home to say goodbye to her. Just for you to know, our granny had managed to save an impressive amount of money, and she always said that when she died, Lily and I would inherit it. Probably because of her financial abilities, she has always insisted on everybody being around her and eating out of her hands. So basically, we didn't love her very much, But of course, it was sad that she was about to pass away, so we just had no other choice but to go back home for a while. When I came home, it turned out that Lily had a special photo shoot that she couldn't miss, so she was going to join us a week later. I got angry because when Mom called me, she said that it was really important that I get back home as soon as possible, so that I even had to reschedule my exams for earlier dates, and I had a few sleepless nights trying to get prepared for them. And now it turned out that my excuse wasn't serious enough. Can you believe it? But the worst thing happened when I thought it over and tried to explain to my mom and dad how wrong everything was, especially taking into account Granny's temper. My parents only said that it was not a big deal and that, for her, I would have to pretend that I was me and Lily at the same time, so that she does not get angry. What? I mean, of course Granny was already so old and had really poor eyesight, but it was just outrageous that I had to cover my sister's back while she was posing in front of cameras. Oh, I hated Lily at that moment and that whole stupid situation. But nobody would listen to me. When we went to Granny the next day, I was skeptical about my little performance, as my mom called it. I tried to tune myself in, thinking about the many different things that I'd be able to buy when I got my part of Granny's fortune, like a car, for example. I even had to take 2 different outfits with me so that Granny could see 2 different colors and think that she was seeing 2 of her different granddaughters. When I saw Granny, I really felt so much pity for her. I mean, I haven't seen her for a while, and now she looked very old and weak. She didn't even get out of her bed. But that feeling of mine almost completely disappeared as soon as she began to play her regular Godfather-like scene, asking whether the whole family had already gathered together. I was the first one who Granny wanted to talk to. We told her that Lily went out for a second to answer an important call. After I told her about my academic successes and in general what was new in my life, she decided to ask why I, unlike my sister, do not work anywhere. Yes, she was aware that Lily was a beginner model, and it was clear that our Granny greatly respected her zeal to start earning money faster. Apparently, even the fact that this model miraculously wasn't kicked out of the university for poor grades could not temper her enthusiasm, while my almost excellent grades apparently didn't deserve much respect. Anyway, when she was done with me, Granny asked Lily to come up and talk to her. So I had to go and change my clothes and once again enter Granny's bedroom, but this time pretending to be my sister. Oh, you should have seen how Granny changed in her face. She literally melted with pride. Of course, the whole situation wasn't easy for me. Even though I knew a lot about Lily's life, and I saw that Granny had no doubts about which one of us she was talking to, I felt so horrible that once again my twin sister seemed to be better than me for everybody else. This nightmare of mine lasted for a couple of more days. I kept pretending while Lily kept posing. I tried to call her to say that she needed to hurry up since Granny's health was getting worse day by day, and as you probably have guessed, she has to talk to Lily more than to Jane. But my sister apparently was too busy to think about that foolish family stuff, because she barely talked to me. This made me angry, but my parents' reaction was even more outrageous when they kept saying that I just needed to be patient. Unfortunately, Granny passed away before Lily, the real one, managed to see her. It happened right before the day she arrived. And I don't know how that poor old sick lady managed to contact her lawyer, but it turned out that Granny got so impressed with Lily, the one that I pretended to be, that she left all her money to her. Meanwhile, I only inherited her book collection and a vintage ring, which could be probably worth something. I can't find the words to tell you about my indignation and about how insulted I was with all that. My parents agreed that it was unfair, but they still said that this was Granny's last will and that they could do nothing about it. Lily was on top of the world when she found out about her easy money. Frankly, she offered me a small amount of her money, but it was so insignificant compared to what I expected to get that I refused to take anything from her. Now I have minimized all my contact with my family. When my mom calls, I just usually tell her that everything is okay. Well, without any details. and I prefer to not talk to Lily at all. No matter how insulting this may sound, I don't think she's worried about that. Do you think that I did the right thing? Or maybe I should have fought for this inheritance?